What is up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. And you see I have my Super Trucker headset on because I'm about to be doing some super trucking here in just a little bit, all at 65 miles an hour or less, except for a few hills. But anyway, I had some people ask some questions about how I operate the lease and things like that. And really, I'm not somebody to take a whole lot of advice from in regards to the best way to run your lease, because I'm obviously fairly new at this myself. But one thing I promised myself was that I was going to trust the process. My trainer trusted the process, and it seemed to work well for him. And what I mean by that is, I don't know, about 2 months ago, I was sitting at the yard in Pittston, and I get a text from my fleet manager telling me to just start heading. I think he put in just set your Qualcomm to Louisville, Kentucky, and I'll find you pre-plan all the on the way. So I tell him, okay, headed that way now. And he starts, explaining the whole thing. And I just came back to him and I was just like, listen, you don't need to explain anything to me. I trust you. So what happened to me today kind of reminded me of that. So I'm sitting here at the Denver yard, and I was going to be ready to go at 7 o'clock this morning. And I hadn't heard anything from my fleet manager. And, I just texted him and said, I have a trailer, I'm ready to go. So he's like, okay, I'll get back with you. So a couple hours go by, and he sends me a load that's picking up at the Denver yard, and it's going 4 miles away. And in the pay screen, it said $0.00. So, you have to accept the load and all this kind of stuff. So then he's explaining, can you help us out with this, blah, blah, blah. So I just basically said the same thing. I said, you know what? You've always had my back. I trust you. I'm sure you'll look out for your boy. He said 10-4. So a little bit after that, I get a pre-plan from him that is a deadhead from Denver to Kansas, which is always something that is a possibility when you're in Denver anyway. But it's a deadhead out to Kansas, and then the load is going to Pennsylvania. Very nice paying load on that. And he didn't send me exactly what it was yet, but he kind of told me what the range was. So if I remember in a future video when I actually get dispatched on it, I might say exactly what that number is if I remember to do it. But that's one thing that hasn't really failed me. I know that there's a lot of people that'll turn down loads, whether it be the cent per mile isn't right, or the deadhead's too far, or whatever the number is, or whatever the reasoning is. And trust me, I've turned down, I think, 2 loads so far, and none of them really were revolving around money. The first one I turned down, I was in the Pittston yard around the same time that this other situation happened with that long deadhead. But I was sitting in Pittston, and I get I think it was a 1 pickup 5 drop load, and I just kind of got on my own, and I just felt at that time that might have been biting off a little bit more than I could chew, and I just declined it just because of the number of stops. The next one I declined was a 1 pickup 10 drop load that was, they said it was a no-touch flower load. It wasn't Prime Floral, it was Lowe's. But I turned that down as well just because 10 drops, that's a little bit much, and I didn't have much faith in the fact that I wasn't going to have to, touch this freight, so I turned that one down. But other than that, my philosophy has been trust the process, and it's just human nature. I don't care what anybody says. I just think if your fleet manager knows that you're there, for the stuff that nobody else wants to do, if he has a load that he could give to you and maybe give to somebody else, maybe that load goes to you. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I have a lot of faith in human nature, so never speak disrespectful to him, even if it was to ever come to a point where I was upset. That's just one thing that I would never do. I would never even get to a point where I would even, I've heard people talk about firing their fleet managers and all this kind of stuff, and even if I was unhappy with them, I would never even try to word anything in a way to make it seem like I'm above them or that I have the ability to fire somebody or anything like that. So I hope that answers a little bit of the questions. I really don't put a whole lot of thought in the loads I take, and people could call me stupid for that or not, but until I'm not seeing the money come in that I'd like on a weekly basis, or actually even further than that, I look out way further than a week in advance. Somebody told me the further you look ahead in anything, the better off you're going to be. So I try not to look at things short term. So there's a number of different reasons why I'm doing that in this lease. First thing, obviously, is I haven't had, kind of rambling a little bit, and I'm getting off my point. But I guess my point is, without all the rambling, that I'm choosing to trust the process, and until trusting the process doesn't work, I'm going to stick with that. And if it comes to a point where I need to get a little bit more, turning down loads or getting more specific about what I want or things like that, then I'll certainly do that, but I will definitely do it in a respectful manner. There's some other people that I keep up with that are leasing as well, and they seem to be following kind of the same process, and they seem to be doing well also. So I hope that answers the questions, and I hope that you guys are having a good day. This load that I'm dropping off doesn't drop off until 1600, so I'm going to be sitting here a little while, which is fine with me since I have somewhere to go right when I'm done getting unloaded on this. Anyway, I do want to thank you guys for stopping by No Hippie Truck and Transportation. I do appreciate the support. Sorry for the rambling on this and not keeping it directly to the point, but sometimes that happens.